We're back
with our hottest video this year.
Hottest video this year that's coming out in 2024, of course.
Lady Ballers.
You gotta strike while the iron's hot.
Let's do that clean. We talked over, when you said Lady Ballers, it was like muddled.
Lady Ballers.
I meant let's do it again.
I thought you just wanted mine again.
No. We're striking while the iron's hot. This is all staying in now.
Yeah, so Kevin, can you give us your full, I don't even remember what you said.
I don't know either.
You just said that we watched Lady Ballers.
No, that wasn't it. I think it was better than that.
Kevin, what are we reviewing?
Lady Ballers.
The most controversial movie of the millennia.
Oh, it triggered everyone. It was the triggering herd around the world,
I've never
dude.
been triggered. I was triggered watching this, dude.
I'm still triggered. All right, so if you don't know what the we're talking about, I'm sorry for ruining your life a little bit more. Today we're gonna be talking about the Daily Wire's newest film. We reviewed their last film.
These nerds on the internet are making fun of me. I must make more movies.
The only logical explanation is to destroy them. With logic.
With logic.
If you're new to our channel, we're a comedy film discussion YouTube channel. All of those things you can put in air quotes, I'm sure. We reviewed the Daily Wire's last movie and we didn't enjoy it. We thought it was pretty terrible. But we do like ourselves some comedy. The Daily Wire announced, they dropped the trailer just like a month ago saying, guess what? We're not just making another movie.
We save comedy.
We are making a comedy. And for us, I think, you know, it was kind of exciting because they're not just making a comedy, they're making a comedy that's like full. We even said it in the last video, they should just lean into their stupid conservative crap and just make a stupid conservative movie because at least that would feel like something genuine.
That'd be honest from them.
Yeah.
And I am here to say that I take back what I said. Don't do
Well, what
that.
they did wrong with that is that they didn't make it funny.
Yeah, so Lady Ballers is a comedy about a group of men that decide that they will become winners in life. They're losers, and so they decide that they're going to
45 minutes into the movie, they decide this.
They decide that they're going to play women's sports so they can win. And obviously it is a satire on the very fun discussion that we're gonna love to have during this video
Big
about
air quotes.
Trans women in sports. That's definitely a discussion that you're gonna see.
Don't need to talk about that.
Well, we're gonna do it.
The movie barely touches on it.
Well, and we're braver than them. We're gonna settle the debate. That's why you have to watch. You have to watch to the end of the video where Uncle Mikki settles the trans debate.
You know what? It hasn't been solved yet, but we've never tried to tackle it.
We've never tried to tackle it.
Everyone's got to throw their hat in the ring.
I know that the three of us, the three smartest,
White men.
white, straight, well, mostly.
Partly. Fractionally. Generally not. Generally not. Generally.
White, straight men are going to settle the debate once and for all. So you have to watch to the end of the video.
If you want the violence to stop.
If you want the violence to stop. Well, we're solving the problem. What's the first part we normally do?
Just to preface, I don't think this movie's unfunny because of politics.
Because of the subject matter.
Just like whether I was fully gung-ho, like, oh, I totally believe in this movie's message, which I don't.
Which he does.
It's just not funny.
I think all of us went into this thinking, okay, I think that the message is pretty like terrible. Like I don't agree with the politics of this movie, but I'm open to satire. I'm open to like being made fun of. I'm open to my opinions being the subject of the joke. We make fun of ourselves all the time on this channel. So like
you can have good satire and it be against something you believe.
At the same time, I know all of the players involved, and I knew that they were not capable of doing that. Everyone that made this movie, all of them, they're all just kind of goblins. Like none of them are like actual people. They're kind of just like cartoon characters of real people. And so I was like, they're going to make a cartoon character version of a real movie. Regardless of the subject matter, I was open to it being funny. I didn't think it would. But I did not go in thinking, okay, I hate these people, and therefore it is incapable of having any good moments.
If you were wanting to make a satire about this isn't a bad way to go about it. Just like on paper.
Yeah.
This is a natural storyline you can come up with. But they don't do any satire because what you need for satire is research and to actually know what you're satirizing.
To me, this is like a B storyline in a South Park episode.
That's what I mean. Like, it feels like a South Park episode or like a movie from the 90s.
Yeah, I saw the trailer and obviously I was laughing for 9 hours afterwards.
It's impossible not to.
It's impossible not to. I mean, I saw it and I was like, how can this not resurrect comedy?
Comedy has been dead. Well, that's very important.
Comedy has been dead. There's been no good comedy.
There has not been a single good comedy.
Obviously, there has not been a true comedy made since Barack Obama became president.
They would argue Barbie's not a good comedy, even though it's a good comedy.
Which movie?
Barbie.
You heard
I
of
don't
Barbie?
even know what that is.
That is?
Yeah.
Anyway, there's been no comedies.
What people, rant time? I've seen people make that complaint, whether it's on YouTube videos or
Comedy's
on our
dead.
Facebook. But not just comedy's dead, specifically that genre of comedy's dead, which I think is largely true. My only problem with that sentiment is that they died a pretty natural death. Like, that was how comedy movies were made,
killed
largely
themselves.
from the 90s to the late 2000s.
Yeah, Westerns aren't dead because Hollywood's
Because
woke.
woke Hollywood killed them. Yeah,
It's just dead because people don't want to watch
People
it.
don't want to watch them anymore.
It's the money.
yeah.
It's the money, that's all it is.
What was that, Year One, or the one with Jack Black, or whatever, where he plays a caveman?
Yeah, those movies were still coming out and people were like, who wants to see
No
this?
one wanted to see them. They died.
People started booing them.
But now people are talking about those movies like you can't make them anymore. You could not make a movie like that.
Well, you could, but nobody
today.
wants them.
The only problem with that idea is Barbie actually has basically the same structure of one of those movies. Like almost to a T, it's the same movie as Elf, just with a little bit of feminism. The formula just went stale, and unless you make a funny version of it, it's just not going to do well. Because we already have all those movies that you're thinking of. Why don't they make movies like that anymore? It's because they already made them.
And also because they got lazy. Just like any genre, eventually they're like, well, let's just make this faster and cheaper and quicker.
All those comedy actors that were on the, like, had those movies on their backs all aged out of it, and they never replaced them with other people that wanted to do that.
Yeah.
Like Jim Carrey, Will Ferrell, they don't do that anymore.
And I do admit, comedy is a smaller genre now, but so is every genre. Like, unless it's a big blockbuster movie, there's less of those medium tier budget movies being made. I think that what studios saw is they saw those movies dying. I could be wrong on this, but my guess would be that they saw that and thought all comedies dying, because that's how you made comedies in the 2000s. And so yeah, maybe less comedies got made, but comedies also made its way into every other genre.
That's the thing. Comedy is in everything.
Comedy has evolved.
You think the Thor movies aren't comedies?
No, those are all comedies.
They're comedies.
Not all of them are good.
Not the first two.
But the last two, Guardians of the Galaxy movies are all comedies.
Those are comedies. Those are like, they're action comedies.
Oppenheimer, I was cracking up.
That was hilarious.
I actually laughed more times on Oppenheimer than I did Lady Bird.
It is so funny when he's like, I think I destroyed the world, and it's like, that you did. You did.
It's hilarious.
You should feel bad.
I saw the trailer and I knew it wasn't going to be funny. I was open to it. I wanted it to be because there's a lot you can say. Like, that's the thing. South Park does that kind of thing all the time where it's like, we're going to make fun of both sides brutally. Like, everyone's going to get roasted. And then they kind of come to a medium logic at the end. Like, the comedy isn't taking a side. It's not just ha ha ha, look at that side, ha ha ha, look at that side. Because then it stops being funny immediately.
They're believable in the context of their show.
Yeah,
Where in this movie, you're watching it, you're like, this does not even make
the
sense.
desire to understand it.
Yes.
Like there's the effort made to comprehend the thing that they're making fun of.
Team America World Police. They make fun of so much in that movie. They make fun of both ideologies. There's things in it that could easily piss either one off. But the movie isn't just taking one side, sitting behind the fence, and just pointing at it.
I said earlier, like, they're just behind a fence going, boo, boo, instead of just, like, actually making
a funny joke.
Or like, I don't think It's Always Sunny always does great with their satire episode. Like when they
Sometimes they do great,
Sometimes
though.
they do really great though, and they do two things at the same time. They try to understand the other side of the issue, and then they characterize it with the character. They're not saying that all people that believe this are this way. They're saying that this character is like that.
My guns. Oh. Anyway, I started blasting. Bang! Wow. Okay. Bang! Try to shoot him in the back.
And they have these beliefs, and you can draw some parallels, but you can also be like, well, yeah, not everyone's like that, because this is a cartoon character that we're making fun of. We're not making fun of all
they're
liberals
not all
or
like
all
this.
conservatives. We're not just like painting with the really, really broad brush. Broad. That's a great word for this movie, is broad.
The characters in this movie aren't the subject of the satire. The characters in the movie are merely just hopping into this world, and the world is what's crazy. Yeah. Even though the characters are doing completely immoral things, regardless of your politics.
Yeah.
Yeah, this movie sucks. I don't even really want to talk about it that long.
We've already talked about it.
We've already talked about it longer than I wanted to. My big issues with it is that it's satire that has no bearing on what it's satirizing.
Yeah.
It's not funny. That's the biggest problem. It's not funny.
It's not
It is
funny.
just genuinely not funny. There's not good jokes in it. Like, we know people that didn't like Team America World Police, but if you're like sitting there crossing your arms because you don't like the satire of it, there's still the part where Susan Sarandon says, "You will die a peasant's death."
You shall die a peasant's death!
That's funny. Like at least you're like at least it's a movie. I was sitting there just like, and we kept pitching like, oh, how is this gonna end? And by the end, I'm just like, I don't know why we're thinking about this so much, because obviously these writers, the director, they don't think that these characters who are clearly doing the wrong thing are doing the wrong thing.
Yes.
Regardless of your politics, they are doing the wrong thing.
Ultimately, most of the people that, you know, believe in trans rights and the people that they're making fun of in this movie, they want what's best. And I think that's important. When you're satirizing anybody, most people they're not trying to be evil. So if you're gonna make fun
They
of
want what's
somebody,
fair, they want what's best.
at least try to understand that the people that you hate, there are definitely exceptions to this, but to use an example, like the girl that signs them up for the first race, like the girl that has all the trans pride flags or whatever on her shirt. This is the satire, because this is how you fucking do it, is you make fun of the fact that people's good nature will take them to extremes that are laughable. Like, people are so desperate to do what they think is right.
That would be funnier.
Yes.
Instead, it's they're crazy.
Oh my crap, you're a trans woman. Oh, here you go, miss. This is everything you need for the women's heptathlon, and it is so wonderful what you're doing.
Wanting to do the right thing is not crazy, and you can make fun of people for being misguided, but this movie is making fun of people just for being, oh, they're so insane.
Even if you're in a world that's like crazy and would allow a bunch of men to pretend to be women to be in female basketball, it is still wrong to pretend to be men and be in female basketball. It would still be wrong.
Because you're taking advantage of people's goodwill.
And that's what my biggest problem with the movie is, and it's like, it's not funny. On top of that, I'm watching it, I'm like Ben Shapiro yourself, would you actually do that? No. Like, that's psychotic if you'd actually do that.
I think I'd actually suggested to the Grain Boys that they do this as a doc.
Yes.
I originally went to them and I said, you guys should like go try out for a bunch of ladies leagues. And that became not possible because, as it turns out, most ladies leagues don't allow in actual men. And they weren't willing to go the full distance in terms of what it would require in order to, you know, the actual hormone treatments and everything to play in some of the ladies' leagues. But in any case, it turned into this.
Yeah, if anyone actually did that, they'd be psychotic.
Yes. It's heartless. You know, a lot of times I'll call a movie like soulless or like it's just like corporate art. And I don't mean it in that way. It's heartless in every way you can conceive of it. It's completely passionless for the most part. Like, this felt like we kept saying it felt like a beer commercial for the Super Bowl.
What is that?
Bud Light. I'm sponsored now.
Oh, buddy. They'll give that shit to any dude in a dress.
Comedy is not coming from any genuine place of like, I find this funny. It's literally just a bunch of Babylon Bee level jokes.
So I can be a woman on the court and a man in the bedroom. I can't believe it. Nice!
You mean when you're sleeping?
Yes.
And no one's a good actor, all delivering everything terribly.
I see you.
At no step of the way is there any genuine heart, except for Ben Shapiro. He's just happy to be there.
Cynical, and you shut the f up, transphobic motherfucker.
Ben Shapiro should have been main character, dude.
And we've been kind of dancing around it. I'll be the white knight here. Fuck this movie's trans opinions.
Well, they don't get it.
Well, they don't get it, and they don't want to get it.
There was no effort made.
Probably going to alienate at least one of our subscribers, but if you're alienated by me saying that fuck these people that don't like trans people, then fuck you. Yeah.
Like, even if you're satirizing it, fine, satirize it, but like by the end you should be like, these characters are scumbags for doing what they did.
Yeah, the way you film it is condemnation.
Yes,
You know,
and
like,
by the
it's
end
always
of it, it's just like, by the way, they didn't do anything wrong and everything works out for them. And I'm like, really?
They were in the right because eventually they
didn't fess up to what they did and just twisted the knife more?
Well, they said that the other guys that did the same thing as them, they're bad too.
Because they're black, is what they said.
I will say, you know,
that cut the clips.
Those aren't the Santa Fe Cowgirls.
Let's just say I made some substitutions.
You can't substitute players in a qualification match.
There's no rule against it.
Yeah, we're pretty much just making it up as we go.
But they're not real.
They're not what?
This movie advertises itself as like the most triggering comedy of the year. It really wasn't.
I think I like with time, I'm starting to understand this movie a bit more.
It's not complicated.
It's not a comedy at all. I think it's actually fantasy. Like, it actually takes place in a world that does not fucking exist.
Kevin, you're a genius.
It is purely it's purely fantasy.
It is straw man the movie.
There are comedic bits where where a reporter tries to snipe a man in public.
Oh, look.
Yes, it has a naked gun joke.
Also, there's like a trans kid that shows a kid their dick.
Oh, and Mary Margaret showed me her penis.
Some boy showed you his penis?
What? No, not a boy, Daddy. Gross. Mary Margaret, she's a girl.
Girls don't have penises, Winnie.
Mary Margaret does. Penises are weird.
Can we stop saying penis, please?
Which has never happened in reality, so that says to me it's fantasy. You know what I mean? Like, I heard that, I was like, oh, we're in a fantasy land. Okay, that's cool.
That does not exist in this world as like that's fine. Everybody's happy with this. That does not exist.
Comedy 101 is your characters hold an assumption, men are better than women. That's a flawed assumption that they hold, and they are certain it's true. That like classic comedy setup for them to be wrong, and that is funny.
No, we're just better at all sports.
And
a better movie would have them struggle.
Yes.
And they don't.
What about the Gina Caranos? Okay, Ben Shapiro versus Gina Carano. I want to see it right now. Who will win? She will rip him in half.
In anything.
In anything. In anything.
There's almost
Period.
satire in the sniper bit. It's so close. The conservatives would never do this, though. It's that someone fires a gun in a stadium and no one reacts to it, but it's not a joke in the movie. It's just someone fires a gun and they just never explain it.
No, what they should have done is someone fires a gun and everybody pulls their guns out.
That would have been
starts blasting.
That would have been hilarious.
And it would have been it just eradicates the issue.
And the area that.
But see, that would be they're too self-aware.
But and also because they cut away from that sniper shot so quickly. I don't think they wanted people to draw like mass shooter connections.
Oh, that's another thing. The people that made this movie are pussies.
Yeah, the comedy does not even go that hard.
Even though you're like attacking like a pretty like I would say difficult and ballsy thing to attack, and
you gotta be if you're gonna go after the trans people, you gotta be funny.
I said earlier, it's just a guy behind a fence going boo, like a tall fence, so he knows he's safe, and he's going boo.
This should be a brutal X-rated comedy.
These conservatives are too dumb to make that. I'm sorry, you who are unsubscribing, but like Ben Shapiro and company are too dumb to make that movie.
That guy that directed it is a moron.
And they wanted to have children in it because they want their children to watch this movie.
And they don't let Ben Shapiro say fuck, which my theory is that Ben Shapiro.
It's bleeped out.
My theory is
that Ben Shapiro for sure didn't say.
He said frick. He said frick.
He just mouthed it, dude. He didn't even say a word.
Factually, I would just never say the F word.
This is the guy that said P word when talking about pussy.
Bring a bucket and a mop for this wet ass P word. P word is female genitalia.
It's true.
Oh my God, you're right.
Wet ass pussy.
Wet ass, P word.
Structurally. This movie, there's so many things to pull from. Like movies like this have been made for decades at this point. The structure is very straightforward. You have a character. Traditionally, they're a fish out of water. This movie was kind of doing the opposite, where it's a man in water.
It's water inside a fish.
Because the protagonists of the movie are all supposed to be like the normal people, whereas the rest of the world that's accepting the trans people are supposed to be the weird ones. You have these characters. They find a way to exploit the system. They try it at first. They have a little bit of success. Then they fail. Then the whole thing is about to collapse.
They want to double down on it.
They double down. There's some interpersonal strife. The protagonist is going to divorce his wife or is going to lose the kid. Like it's always something like that.
Oh, you just do Mrs. Doubtfire. That's a perfect example because someone is doing something morally wrong, but for a good reason. And
Mrs. Doubtfire is just the better version of this movie.
Yes, the structure is the same, but by the end, the movie does not make any promises. The movie doesn't patch any holes. The movie's like, no, he messed up.
And he answers for what he did.
And he answers for what he does.
That's kind of what I'm building towards with this structure talk, is because in a movie like this, you want to get your characters to the point where they've realized that the whole movie they've been making a terrible mistake. They've been lying, and we get there almost.
They're like, have an arc.
It kept teasing us because like there's a moment where one of the characters is like,
he's like, what arc?
These women, like, doesn't it feel weird that we're just like beating them?
David, what's your problem?
I don't know, Coach. It's just some of those girls we're out there beating, they've worked their entire lives for this opportunity.
I didn't make the rules, pal.
Okay, but Aren't we just using our innate strength and speed to wail on a bunch of girls in a competition where we wouldn't stand a chance against other men? I just think what we're doing here isn't right. No way. I just got sponsored by Maybelline.
And then it's when his daughter asked if she can be a boy.
I want to be a boy.
Which this almost was a good scene, because his daughter comes up to him and is like, I want to be a boy, and he's like, oh shoot, my whole life is ruined.
Because he's been setting a bad example.
And she's like, well,
you're showing that boys are beating girls at everything.
You're telling me that boys are better than girls at everything.
I want to be a winner just like you, Daddy.
What's that have to do with being a boy?
Boys are better at everything.
This is where the politics of this movie completely make it incapable of saying anything, because his daughter's like, genuinely, after the entire message that the movie's been, it's like she's been watching the movie. Hey, I feel like this movie is saying that boys are just biologically better than girls, and like everything that girls can do, boys can do better, so I want to be a boy.
That's just not true.
They're better at basketball.
Okay, yeah, basketball.
And the dad is like, no, that's not true. And then the girl lists all the sports that boys are better at.
MMA.
That goes without saying.
And running, and javelin, powerlifting, shot put, hockey, karate, football, pole vault, driving, parking, most of the STEM fields, rock and roll, opening pickle jars.
Okay.
And then he's like, no, but women are better in the kitchen.
Women are better at all kinds of things. They can be nurturing and sensitive and empathetic. And they civilize men.
We're exaggerating this much.
That's what you're gonna fucking tell your daughter?
And then he turns to his ex-wife who has been listening the whole time. He's like, I know I'm a good dad.
Did Mommy civilize you?
She tried.
Yeah, he looks over and he goes, yeah, and you know what? She did.
I think she's still trying.
The camera pans down and she's just soaking wet.
Stop being so funny.
Yeah, there's no room for comedy.
No room for
in
comedy.
this comedy. If he was an actual character and I was writing that scene, like, he should have conflict there. Oh man, my daughter's now having this.
Like, I don't want her to think that.
I have poisoned her worldview where she now thinks she can't do anything.
My daughter's having these thoughts, like, and I'm the one making her have these thoughts.
I've been a bad father, and the best thing I can come up with, and the movie is gonna clap for me for thinking of this, the best thing I can come up with is that women are better in the kitchen, they're better at making babies.
Plus, Mommy brought you into the world. That's a superpower no man will ever have.
They're better at having boobies, and that was 3. Want to get back together?
Yes. That is a redeemed man.
And then he doesn't even have to like pay for his sins. He doesn't have that moment that I was talking about where he goes out and he admits to everybody that they've been fooling everybody.
In Mrs. Doubtfire, he gets exposed in front of in public, a restaurant, and everyone finds out. The entire family finds out.
He does not get his comeuppance. And then there's almost a moment towards the end of the movie. I held my breath. I didn't think they were going to do it.
We were all dead quiet.
Because one of the characters, he's been with the protagonist the longest. He's been dressing up like a woman the entire time. And there's a little couple moments throughout the movie where he's like kind of enjoying being a woman.
They're kind of questioning like, oh, is he like, how seriously is he taking this?
And this is after the climax has happened, after they're like, oh, we don't have to be women anymore. And he comes up to the coach and very genuinely, and I actually thought his performance in this scene wasn't as bad.
I was gonna say that guy,
in terms of performance,
he was trying the most.
And he comes up and he very genuinely says, I think that I am actually a woman.
I am a woman. I mean, all those years playing basketball, I never really felt like myself.
He's like, I've felt the most happy here. I feel the most like I belong. I feel like I'm in my right skin. If you were doing this movie right,
here's the thing.
You say, okay, you know, this is an adult capable of making their own decisions.
This is an adult that the main character knows well.
Who the main character should be like, you know what, that might be your truth, and I respect you for that. Like, that's like a character moment where
they can't even do that. No, instead, he goes, you're crazy.
You're confused. I get that. But you gotta believe me when I tell you this. You are not a woman.
And then he kicks him in the balls.
How can you be so sure I'm not a woman?
We're not kidding. You probably won't watch the movie because you don't want to subscribe to Daily Wire
And
Plus.
this is what I mean by
Like he does.
This movie is so heartless. It literally is incapable of seeing the other side.
What I'd want the writers and the director to picture with this movie is, in that moment, you take that character, you take yourself in that moment, take someone that you know well, and they confess to you, like, by the way, I genuinely feel this. I genuinely feel like I'm more of myself when I'm a woman.
They literally tell you, I've been happier like this.
There's no way that they would take that and just be like, I'm gonna kick you in the balls.
In a world where Dick Cheney is more accepting than you.
You know, freedom means freedom for everyone. One of my daughters is gay. I think people ought to be free to enter into any kind of union they wish.
That's sad. Come on, Ben Shapiro. Dick Cheney? Everyone hates that guy. Are you kidding me?
Everyone hates that guy, dude.
If you look up Time Magazine, like top 10 like worst people on Earth.
On Earth.
He's in there.
He'd come up.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, this movie is so unwilling to look at the people it doesn't like as humans. This movie is genuinely kind of dehumanizing in that way, where like it is incapable of even imagining them as people. They're all caricatures.
They're all insane people who have mental problems.
Yeah. You know, that would be fine. And this is like, I've been being a liberal cuck for a little bit. That'd be fine if the movie was funny. Like if the jokes were flying at you left and right and you're like laughing at it and it's terrible and you kind of know it's terrible, but it's still being funny.
If you've laughed a few times throughout the movie, him getting kicked in the balls might be funny.
Yeah, it might be funny. But the problem is that they're not jokes.
It's not in good fun, and it's very flat in its delivery.
And it's not clever.
Which is the worst possible combination for satire. There's a mid-credit scene with Jordan Peterson that is also...
Oh yeah, talk about the cameos, dude.
Insanely unfunny.
Theodore Cruz came in?
Excuse me, are these seats open? Never mind.
For nothing?
Which, that's always what cracks me up, is politicians. They're always funny.
He poked his head in and he's like, I'm a fat loser.
That's what I heard. That's what I heard. Ben Shapiro needs to be the main character of this movie.
Well, because
you joke about this a lot.
Explain that, though.
He's got no time.
Because people might think that you're just a Ben.
Well, he's got no time. He's got all the time in the world.
No, dude, he's too busy crushing libs, dude.
What Kevin
Is that what he's doing?
He's crushing libs, dude. You don't take Batman out while he's in the middle of fighting crime, dude.
To go be in a commercial.
Yeah, your stupid Daily Wire commercial.
But what Kevin means by that is that Ben Shapiro
I genuinely would love it. Ben Shapiro was the main character, though.
Well, because Ben Shapiro has screen presence. And that's what I've been trying to add to
he's
this.
a character
because
in
you guys
himself.
are just sound like you love Ben Shapiro. But Ben Shapiro has screen presence, which is something that basically everyone in this movie is severely lacking.
I know, it's crazy, huh?
The fact that he's kind of this like short little like, I talk like, he sounds like me, but even more of a loser.
And yeah, just looking at Ben Shapiro and seeing him,
He made all of us laugh.
It is embarrassing that any of those people that actually want to be actors and like people like the guy that directed it and decided he was going to be the main character also, you should be embarrassed that Ben Shapiro would stomp your ass in this movie.
Oh yeah.
Like, I would be embarrassed.
Well, he wouldn't be performing. He would just be
Ben Shapiro.
Yeah.
And that would be way more entertaining. Than your stupid, nothing milk. I don't even remember your face anymore. I don't know what you look like. If I saw you tomorrow, I wouldn't know who you were.
Yeah. Jeremy Boring.
Jeremy Boring. His last name's Boring.
He plays Boring Man.
Nothing in this movie is more funny than the irony of the fact that this movie was written and directed by a man named Jeremy Boring.
And starring
Jeremy Boring.
You're a fool. For writing and directing this movie and starring in it, you should have cast somebody else.
And not changing your name, at least, to save yourself the embarrassment.
Yeah, it's insane. Like, you're writing the articles yourself.
Oh, and plugging your own products?
Oh,
Jeremy?
That was very embarrassing.
Man, you guys weren't kidding. These Jeremy's razors are amazing.
I don't think I have anything.
That's a dead
Don't
horse.
see this
That's
movie.
a dead horse right
Don't
there.
see this.
Don't watch this.
Watch this review, kind of laugh with us, you know, it's funny. Don't see it. Don't get the Daily Wire Plus.
Oh, old bit. I have to bring back an old bit. Alec reviews his experience on the Daily Wire Plus website.
Should we do Space Eggs before this?
No, this counts. It's such a terrible website. Like, just trying to watch this movie was actually, like, it was fighting us to watch it.
Yeah, we were making jokes that Ben Shapiro was listening in on the microphone and was like, they don't like my movie. Pause it for
Pause
me.
it. They're talking over it.
Because we don't get the best internet reception in here, and so we were losing it, but it doesn't give you an option to turn down the quality so that it'll play back faster.
There's also no subtitles.
When it runs out, there's also no subtitles. Also, if you refresh the page, it doesn't remember where you were watching, and we also learned that you are actually not allowed to sign out.
Oh, you're
of the Daily
prisoned,
Wire.
dude. You're in prison.
The log out button was grayed out. You click on it, nothing happened.
Nothing happened. No joke.
So it was a bad website experience. They've not improved. In fact, it's gotten worse.
Tubi's better.
I'm gonna give this one a 0 out of 12.
Ooh.
Space eggs. I'm just busting in with the space eggs. We haven't introduced the space eggs.
You know what, dude?
0 out of 12 space eggs.
Fuck this movie, dude. 8 out of 10.
Boom, that's the facts.
To fire off a few things, this movie only has 4 jokes, and one of them is the one joke that I identify as X, Y, or Z.
It wasn't funny the first time, and then they did it 100,000
They did it 100.
times.
Well, and then the whole movie was
the whole. I mean, that's the premise of the movie, is the one joke. And then the other joke that they had was that one guy from Terror on the Prairie is short.
I forgot. There's one more point, one really quick point I wanted to make. I hate that they aren't actually in drag.
It would have made the final scene a lot funnier.
All the scenes funnier.
It also, like, they're clearly trying to say that the whole thing is a farce, and so making it more visually farcical, like, as it goes, like, escalating it and making it a farce.
It just looks lazy for the movie.
The movie was writing itself, but they kept erasing what the movie
no,
was writing
don't go that way.
They have the ending that they want the other team to come in, and they're all just dudes. And so if by the climax, they're all, like, basically looking like passing women.
Super feminine. That'd be super funny.
And then it comes in with just this team of super masculine, muscular dudes. Like, that's a joke. Is it the funniest joke in the world? No.
But it's a joke.
Space eggs, dude, give it.
This is a negative 12 out of 12. Fuck this movie.
Negative 12. You know what? That's a negative score.
That's a negative score.
That's a negative score.
That's a negative score. That is a total -4 space eggs from the Uncle Mikki crew.
Boom.
Boom.
The Daily Wire, when they made their previous movies, when they set out to make movies, it's even in the Terror on the Prairie trailer, they were kind of saying, like, we are the answer to woke Hollywood.
Daily Wire will, in 2021, be jumping into the world of entertainment content. We're going to start by putting our stamp on TV and movies. We're going to make edgy and entertaining films that aren't trying to brainwash you every step of the way. Okay? You're not going to be hit over the head with either right-wing or left-wing causes, the way that TV usually does.
Like, they're shoving politics into these movies where they don't belong.
Take those out.
Take the politics out. And that was kind of the whole, like,
that was the Terror on the Prairie thing.
It felt like they were trying to be the answer, and they obviously failed, and those movies aren't good. But it's also, now they've just given up on it, because this movie is all politics and no good movie.
What we talked about before the movie is, I don't think they consider it politics. That's politics, and this is just the truth.
This is just the truth. They don't consider this politics because it is just the
Just
capital
like they don't
T
consider themselves journalists.
truth. I did promise everybody that we would settle the trans debate. Everyone just
what?
Well, I
thought you had the punchline.
No, I don't have an answer.
I thought you were bringing it back because you had the punchline.
Oh, no.
Well, maybe you could just cut that out then.